That's it. You're coming with me. The staff sergeant's hand closed around her left bicep above the elbow. Bone, muscle, a thumb pressed into the soft place inside the joint. He was angry. He was wrong. He was certain. The sun was at her back. The fence line was 12 feet of chain link with razor wire across the top. The brig sat 300 meters east. Sand-colored concrete, 2 stories. The sally port facing west into the morning. A vehicle access road ran the gap. Grass embankments on both sides. No cover. The woman in plain civvies absorbed the grip. 3 count in, 3 count out. The face of her watch was turned to the inside of her left wrist. You think the gate's a suggestion, he said. You think this fence line is for the dogs. Civilians don't get to wander a restricted area on this base, ma'am. I don't care who you are. He started walking. He walked fast. He walked east toward the brig at a pace that would have made a Marine half his age sweat. He did not let go of the arm. She kept up. She did not stumble. She did not pull. She did not say a word. 300 meters east, the sally port door cracked open. A lance corporal stepped out into the sun. The sergeant's name was Donnelly. K. Donnelly. Staff Sergeant, Brig Duty NCO, 32, 8 years in. He had been watching the woman on the south perimeter cameras for 4 minutes. He had been waiting 2 days for a JAG inspector to arrive. He had decided that finding an unauthorized civilian near his facility on this morning was the same kind of test. He had decided what she was. The woman had been on the access road for 40 minutes. She had walked the perimeter twice. She had timed the foot patrol's rotation between the south corner tower and the southeast gate at 4 minutes and 41 seconds, then 4 minutes and 38, then 4 minutes and 43. The variance was inside Marine Corps tolerance. The wear pattern on the gravel where the foot patrol turned was inside Marine Corps tolerance. The number of cigarette butts on the smoke pad was inside Marine Corps tolerance. Everything else inside the wire was not. Her field notebook in the canvas tote was half a page deeper than when she arrived. Her watch face was turned inward. "Sergeant," she said. 1 syllable. He kept walking. "You don't get to inspect the fence in civvies," he said. "You don't get to walk inside my perimeter. You don't get to stand here and pretend you have a reason. Save it for the desk." She did not save it. She did not speak. Her breath was even and quiet. Her left foot landed under the line of her hip on every step at the speed he was setting. He did not notice that her stride had compensated for his, and not the other way around. The tote slid forward off her left shoulder under the speed of his walk. A leather credentials wallet fell out onto the asphalt, lid flapping once. Donnelly kicked it sideways into the grass verge without looking down. He kept walking. The wallet rolled twice and stopped, leather to the dirt. His thumbs were not in his belt. His thumbs were on her arm. The other Marines on the smoke pad watched him walk with both hands occupied by a woman in plain clothes. One of them put his cigarette out under the toe of his boot. He did not light another one. At the sally port, the lance corporal, 22, MP Utilities, name tape, RIS, the corporal's exam study book just visible above the line of her cargo pocket, saw the wallet fall. She stepped out into the road. She walked to it. She picked it up. She did not open it. She put it into her right cargo pocket and walked back to meet them at the door. Donnelly did not see her see it. He was talking. "You're going to a cell until somebody upstairs figures out who let you in," he said. "And then you and I are going to sit down, and you're going to tell me how you slipped the gate. Hands behind your back when we go through that door." The woman did not put her hands behind her back. She walked through the door with the sergeant's grip on her arm, and her watch face turned inward, and her 3-count breath holding. Reyes followed. The wallet rode in her cargo pocket. In her head, the corporal's exam discipline was already running. Fresh. Article 93. Ill treatment of any person subject to her or his orders. Use of force documentation required for any physical control of a non-resistant subject. The form was in the daily binder behind the processing counter. The form was at most 6 minutes from being written. The form would not be there long. She closed her hand around the wallet in her pocket and walked. Inside the sally port, the interlock thudded shut. The morning sun cut off behind the concrete wall. The corridor light was blue-white. Donnelly walked the woman to the processing counter and pushed her gently against it, palms flat. "Stand by," he said. Outside on the smoke pad, 3 Marines watched the door close behind the 3 of them. One of them said something. Another one laughed. The Marine who had put his cigarette out did not say anything. Reyes did not laugh. The processing area was Formica. Gray. 2 computer terminals, a fingerprint scanner, 3 filing cabinets behind the counter. The desk phone was beige plastic. The clock above the counter read 0934. The fluorescent over the desk had a flicker on the left bulb that had been there for 14 months. The sergeant pulled a drawer. The woman, palms flat on the counter, watch turned inward, said, "Wrong drawer." He froze for half a second. He glanced at her. He kept moving. The drawer he had pulled was the receipt of property drawer. The booking form was 1 drawer down. The lance corporal at the second terminal saw the swap. She wrote 4 words on the back of her duty sheet and did not look up. Wrong drawer. Nose layout. The sergeant shifted drawers without acknowledging her. He pulled the booking form. He set it on the counter. He did not write a number on it. He did not date the physical control reason block. He did not check the use of force witness signature line. He clicked his pen twice. The pen was a black ballpoint with a USMC eagle, globe, and anchor on the clip. The clip was bent inward. "Name," he said. The woman did not give him a name. I said, "Name." "Article 93, the woman said. "Don't quote regs at me." "Article 93, use of force documentation." "I'll wait." He stared at her for 3 seconds. Then he wrote 4 lines on the form. He did not look at her ID, because her ID was in a leather wallet in the cargo pocket of the lance corporal, who was now standing 6 feet behind him with her hands folded in front of her. He spun the form around. He pointed at the signature line. "Sign." "No." "Sign the form." "No, Sergeant." 3-count breath. He did not sign the witness line. He set the form aside, face up, the unfilled blocks pointing at the ceiling. Reyes saw it. She also saw the originating NCO block, where his pen had skipped a stroke on the second N of Donnelly. He had written it too fast. Fingerprints. She held her right hand flat over the scanner, palm down. She did not press. The scanner blinked twice and gave up. "You're refusing." "I am declining," she said, "to identify myself to the Brig duty NCO. I will identify myself to the Provost Marshal." He laughed once. Hard. He waved the laugh off. He clipped a plastic restraint to her wrists in front of her. Loose, not the standard rear position, not the standard tightness. He felt nothing through the loop where her left forearm met the plastic. No tendon tension, no pulse beat against the loop, no pulled back hand. He had cuffed 8 detainees in his career. He had never cuffed one that did not pull. "Walk." He walked her to cell 1. The corridor was painted gloss gray. The cell door was steel with a slit window at face height. He opened the door. He guided her in by the wrist restraint, not the bicep this time. She stepped onto the painted square in the center of the cell. She stood there as if she had stood on that square before. He cut the restraint. He stepped back. He closed the door. The bolt slid home with a metal cluck that he had heard 10,000 times, and that the woman in the cell heard exactly once and remembered. The slit window framed her face from the chin up. She was calm. 3 count in, 3 count out. The watch was still turned inward. Down the corridor, Reyes had the wallet on the processing desk. She had not opened it. She picked up the desk phone. She dialed the Provost Marshal's office line. The clerk picked up on the second ring. Sergeant Major's office, Lance Corporal Bell speaking. Lance Corporal Reyes, Brig, Reyes said. Please ask Major Gallagher to come down to the Brig at his convenience. There's a question about a booking. Roger. She set the receiver back into the cradle. She set the wallet on the desk in front of her. She turned the wallet so the flap faced away from her. She did not open it. On the monitor that fed from Cell 1, the woman sat down on the steel bunk. She put her hands on her knees, palms up. She did not shift. The monitor showed 17 seconds of nothing. Donnelly came back to the desk at 10:06. Booking number, he said. Reyes pointed at the daily binder. 1647, Sergeant. He wrote a number on the form. He did not number the witness line. He did not sign it. File it later, he said. Roger, Sergeant. He walked back down the corridor. Reyes did not file it. She walked to the slit window of Cell 1. She stood there. The woman in the cell looked up. Her eyes were the kind of eyes that you don't put behind a steel door without knowing. The Lance Corporal's name tape was 4 inches from the slit at chest height. Reyes. Lance Corporal Reyes, the woman said. Ma'am. Manual for Courts-Martial. Rule 405. Pre-trial. Preserve the photograph. Which photograph, ma'am? The one the sergeant has not yet taken. Reyes did not answer. 40 seconds later, her phone in her thigh pocket buzzed. She did not pull it out yet. She knew what it was. 3-count breath, the woman said. Ma'am, you're doing it right. The Lance Corporal stood at the slit window with the wallet against her thigh and did not move for 40 seconds. Down the corridor in the duty office, Donnelly was telling Sergeant Mahan that he had set the tone for the inspector when she showed up. Mahan was 28, 2 combat deployments, a quiet face. He laughed once and went quiet. 3 Marines on shift change laughed louder. The duty group chat got a photograph. The photograph was the slit window of Cell 1 taken from outside, the woman's face framed from the chin up. The caption was 4 words. Guess who slipped the gate? 2 messages came back inside 30 seconds. Jag bait? Sent by Corporal Trent on outside post. Doubt it, LOL. Sent by Lance Corporal Pinckney on relief watch. A 3rd message landed at the bottom of the chat 10 seconds later. From Sergeant Mahan. 3 words. Take the photo down. It did not come down. A 4th message landed 40 seconds later. From a gunnery sergeant on a duty rotation off base who had been included on the chat for routing reasons. 2 words and a period. Sergeant Donnelly. Period. The photo still did not come down. Reyes was on the duty group chat too. She read every message twice. She did not respond. She opened her notebook. She wrote the time, the message, text, the photograph file name, and the names of the 4 Marines who had handled the message. Donnelly the sender, Trent, and Pinckney the reply line. Mahan and the off-base gunnery sergeant, the 2 corrective lines that had been ignored. She drew a horizontal line under the 4 names. She wrote in 2 more lines beneath. 1011, UO form unsigned. 1014, group chat photograph distributed without consent. 1015, photograph not removed after 2 NCO directives to remove. She did not open the wallet. She closed the notebook. She walked back to the slit window of Cell 1 for the 2nd time. She passed the doorway of the duty office on the way. The door was half open. She did not look in. She heard Donnelly's voice on the other side of the door, lower now than it had been at 10:06, telling Mahan that the woman in the cell was either a contractor without a badge or a reporter without a press kit, and that either way, she was not getting out of Cell 1 until he had written a narrative he was satisfied with. Mahan's voice did not answer. Reyes did not stop. The woman looked up. Lance Corporal. Ma'am, don't reply in the group chat. Don't quote the regulation aloud where the sergeant can hear. Document. Wait. Ma'am. You have a senior chief at North Island. Reyes's face did not move. Senior Chief Master-at-Arms Estela Ipanake, the woman said. MP school instructor. She ran the briefing on Article 93 in your Phase 3 week. Call her when you have a moment in private. Reyes did not ask how the woman knew this. The watch face turned inward had told the woman in the cell what kind of Marine was standing at the slit window. The corporal's exam study book in Reyes's cargo pocket had told her the rest. The way Reyes had picked up the wallet without opening it had told her the part that the watch and the study book could not. Ma'am. She picks up on the third ring. She does not waste seconds. Roger, ma'am. Lance Corporal. Ma'am. 2 more things. Do not file the form. Do not open this wallet. Walk. The woman did not say anything else. The Lance Corporal walked back to the desk. She stood with the wallet under her palm. She did not file the form. The clock above the counter read 10:26. If you're watching this, and you've ever been the one person in the room who saw it wrong and stayed quiet, hit the subscribe button right now, because tonight's story is for you, and Honor Tales tells it weekly. Slow burn, quiet recognition, the person who paid attention. Subscribe and stay. 10:48. Donnelly came back to processing to complete the booking paperwork. He had not photographed the woman through the slit window for the booking record. He had photographed her for the group chat. He had not written the use of force witness signature. He had not numbered the form. He had not dated the physical control reason block. He had not entered her into the visitor management system because she had not been a visitor. He fixed it on the form. He fabricated. He wrote in block capitals the entry the form needed. Subject attempted to flee perimeter. Physical control applied per U of Matrix Tire 2. No injuries, no complaints made by subject. He did not write that her credentials wallet had fallen on the access road during physical control and that he had kicked it into the grass without looking down. He did not write that the subject had said the words, Article 93. He did not write that she had refused to give him her name because she had a higher rank than the provost marshal of this base. He did not know that yet. He pulled the rubber stamp from the second drawer. He stamped Donnelly, K. Staff SGT in the originator block. He did not stamp the witness block. He set the stamp down with a click. The clock above the counter read 10:49. He spun the binder around to face the Lance Corporal, who had not filed the booking numbers preceding 16 entries either, because the preceding 16 entries had the same gaps. He did not know that yet either. File it, he said. Roger, Sergeant. He walked away. He did not look at her. He did not look at the wallet on the desk. He did not look at the monitor that fed from Cell 1. He walked back to the duty office to write the after-action note that he had been mentally drafting since 10:07, and that would be filed in the chain of command summary line for the morning. The after-action note would contain the same 4 sentences in block capitals. Reyes did not file it. She opened the binder. She read every entry of the last 14 days twice. She read the entries of the 14 days before that once. She used her personal phone to photograph each page. She set the phone face down on the desk between photographs so that the timestamp metadata would be locked. She encrypted the photographs to a folder labeled MP Duty Notes. She set the phone face down on the desk and did not look at it. She closed the binder. She walked back to the slit window of Cell 1. Ma'am? Lance Corporal. The binder pattern, ma'am. The numbering. The witness line. The dated block. How many days back? 6 months. How many forms? 17. The woman in the cell did not change her expression. She sat on the bunk with her palms up on her knees. 3-count breath. The face of her watch was still turned inward. Lance Corporal. Ma'am. Your notebook now contains evidence. Treat it as such. Do not photograph the woman in this cell. Do not name this conversation in writing. Do not file the form on this counter. Make the senior chief call. Ma'am. She walked back to the desk. The wallet was still there. She had not opened it. She stood at the desk for 16 seconds, with both palms flat against the formica. She turned the wallet again so the flap faced away from her. She moved the booking form 1 finger width to the right, so that the witness line was visible past the binder edge to anyone walking up the corridor from the duty office. She did this without looking down. The corporal's exam study book in her cargo pocket had a chapter on the staging of physical evidence on a witness desk for the senior officer's first look. Senior Chief Ipanake had run the lecture in Phase 3 week. Reyes had taken the notes by hand. She looked at the monitor. The woman in the cell was sitting on the bunk with her palms up on her knees. The woman in the cell looked up at the camera once. The corner of her mouth did not move. The face of her watch was still turned inward. The lance corporal watched her for 19 seconds and then looked away. In her tote, on the floor of cell 1, the woman could feel the third small item she had brought into the brig, a sealed sample bottle of the brig's morning detainee water. She had taken it from the water dispenser in the holding corridor cooler at 09:15 before she had walked the perimeter. Standard IG practice. The sealed bottle had a date sticker, an initial sticker, and a barcode. The barcode would scan against the brig's procurement contract for the bottled detainee water that the brig had not been purchasing for 3 months. The contract said 144 cases per quarter. The brig had purchased 0 for 3 quarters, $18,000 per quarter. Paid out. Not delivered. Substituted with tap from the same cooler the duty Marines used for their own coffee. She had walked the perimeter to confirm the daily binder pattern. She had not walked the perimeter to be hauled by a staff sergeant. The hauling was a bonus. The hauling was probable cause. The barcode was the case. Reyes walked to the break room. She closed the door. She picked up the duty cordless. She dialed a number she had not dialed since the day she left MP school in November 2025. The senior chief picked up on the third ring. Master-at-Arms Ipanake. Senior Chief, this is Lance Corporal Reyes, Camp Halawa Annex Brig. Phase 3 week, 2025. Article 93, I have a question. Reyes. Silence for 2 seconds. Talk. Reyes described the woman. Stillness under provocation. Watch face turned to the inside of her left wrist. 3-word sentences. The phrase Article 93 quoted in full. The phrase Manual for Courts Martial Rule 405. The leather credentials wallet on the desk that Reyes had not opened. The 17 forms in the daily binder. The duty group chat photograph that had not come down after 2 NCO directives. The staff sergeant who had hauled the woman across an open access road by the bicep at 0926. The senior chief listened. She exhaled once. Watch face turned inward? Yes, senior chief. 3-count breath? Yes, senior chief. She told you to make this call by name? Yes, senior chief. She named you. 2 seconds of silence. Lance Corporal. Senior chief. Walk away from the form. Major Gallagher. Today. Roger. If she is who I think she is, you do not need to open the wallet. You will know. When the major walks in, you hand it to him, not to the sergeant. Roger. Reyes. Senior Chief. You are doing it right. The line clicked off. The cordless was warm in Reyes's hand. She set it down on the break room counter. She did not walk out yet. She stood at the counter with her left hand flat on the formica and her right hand resting in the cargo pocket on top of the wallet that she had not opened. 3 count in, 3 count out. The senior chief's voice was still in the air around the counter. Walk away from the form. Major Gallagher. Today. She thought about the 8-week Phase 3 lecture on the witness desk. The senior chief had put the slides up at 0730 on a Wednesday in October 2025. The first slide had had 2 photographs side by side. The left photograph had been a binder face down on a counter with a witness signature line completed. The right photograph had been a binder face up on a counter with the signature line blank. Below the right photograph, the senior chief had typed 3 words in white block capitals. "This is evidence." She had not put a 4th word below the left photograph. The room had been quiet for 30 seconds. Reyes had thought at the time that she would never have to see a face-up binder on a witness desk in real life. The thought had been wrong. She turned and walked back to the desk. She picked up the duty line. She dialed the provost marshal's office a second time. Bell. "Reyes, Brig, second call. Ask the major to come now, not at his convenience. I think we have an IG officer in a holding cell. I will not be filing the form." Bell waited 2 seconds. Bell was 23, 18 months in the sergeant major's office, had walked 4 messages in to Major Gallagher in 14 months that had carried the words, IG officer. "I'm walking it in, Lance Corporal." "Roger." Reyes. "Bell." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." "Walking." She hung up. The clock above the counter read 11:31. Donnelly came back through the corridor. He saw the binder still on the desk, not in the cabinet. "Why is the binder on the desk?" "Question about a booking, Sergeant. I'm waiting on the major." He stared at her for 4 seconds. His thumbs went into his belt. He did not pick up the binder. He did not pick up the wallet. He did not look at the monitor that fed from cell 1. He did not look at the booking form, face up between the binder and the wallet, originator stamp dry, witness line still blank. "You're the new Marine." "Lance Corporal Reyes, Sergeant. 4 months. 4 months? Sergeant, you don't wait on majors for booking forms, Lance Corporal. You file the form." "Roger, Sergeant." She did not file the form. He looked at her for 2 more seconds. He took his thumbs out of his belt. He did not say a 4th thing. He walked past her down the corridor toward the duty office. The door closed behind him. The fluorescent light over the desk hummed. The Lance Corporal stood at the processing desk with both hands flat. She turned her watch face to the inside of her wrist. She was 22 years old. She had been a Marine for 10 months. She had not been afraid in the way she was afraid now, and she was not going to move. If you want to know what happens when the right person is the only one paying attention, and you want to be in the room when the rest of them figure it out, subscribe to Honor Tales right now. The reveal is 20 minutes from this moment. Stay with us. 11:38, Cell 1. The woman sat on the bunk, hands folded in her lap, watch face turned inward. Her name was Lena Kowalski. Commander, U.S. Navy JAG Corps. 41 years old. Inspector General Office, Detainee Compliance. Pacific Area. 5 years. She had been born outside Pittsburgh in 1984. Her father had been a steel mill electrician and a quiet man with a careful sense of where the line between right and useful lay. He had broken his hip in 2005 when she was 21 and a junior at Penn State. She had taken a year out of college to nurse him. She had gone back to school at 22. NROTC had taken her at 23. She had commissioned in 2010 at 26. Ensign, JAG selected on the strength of a single argument she had made in a moot court that her instructor still quoted. Trial counsel qualified 2013. Lieutenant junior grade. Lieutenant in 2015. Rotated to USMC base legal liaison. Lieutenant Commander in 2019. Commander in 2022. IG selection that same year. Pacific Brig audit rotation 2024. She had married once. She had been widowed at 33. She had a son, Owen, now 15. Sophomore at the high school 3 miles north of the rented house she had taken when she rotated to the Pacific. Owen made his own breakfast every morning. He left for school at 07:15 on foot. In August 2023, She had prosecuted the Brig heat death case at Marine Corps Base Hawaii, Kaneohe. 2 detainees had died in an uncooled punishment cell. Petty Officer 2nd Class Marcellus Quinto, Navy, 28, 2 daughters. Specialist Idris Belmonte, Army, 23, engaged. The cell's air handling unit had been shut off as a discipline measure on the orders of a gunnery sergeant, whose initials Kowalski could still write from memory in 3 strokes. The temperature log read 114 degrees at 1400 hours, 116 at 1500, 118 at 1600. The 2 detainees were found at 1643. The autopsies named the cause of death heat injury and dehydration. 4 NCOs went to trial. The senior of the 4 had ordered the air handling off and had ordered the ventilation kept off when the junior NCO had asked twice to turn it on. The junior NCO had turned it on at 1610 anyway. The junior NCO was Sergeant Aidan Donnelly, 27, Marine, no prior record, 2 years in. Kowalski had walked the panel through the temperature log. She had named the 2 dead detainees aloud. She had not raised her voice. She had asked the panel to find the 4 NCOs guilty of involuntary manslaughter. She had also asked the panel, in her sentencing recommendation, to reduce Sergeant Aidan Donnelly's sentence in exchange for his testimony against the senior NCOs. He had refused twice before complying. He had turned the ventilation on at 1610. He had told the responding corpsman on scene what the orders had been. Without his testimony, the senior NCOs walked. The panel had granted both. Aidan Donnelly had served 3 years instead of 6. He had been released in March 2026 and was now working in a maintenance shop in Bakersfield. He had written Kowalski 1 letter from confinement in 2025. The letter was 4 lines. The 4th line was, "Thank you, ma'am." Kowalski had recommended the reduction. The reduction had been her recommendation, not the defense's. The defense had not asked. Aidan had never told his cousin Cade. Cade had only known the conviction. In Cell 1 of the Camp Halawa Annex Brig at 11:44 Tuesday morning, Lena Kowalski looked up at the slit window. The Lance Corporal's face was framed in the rectangle for the 3rd time that day. The Lance Corporal nodded once. Kowalski nodded back. The audience knew. The Lance Corporal did not. The sergeant did not. The cell door stayed shut. She thought about the binder on the processing desk. The form Donnelly had written about her was the 17th in 6 months. The Kaneohe Brig had been put on the IG audit calendar, the same quarter Camp Halawa Annex had, because Camp Halawa Annex's daily binder pattern matched the Kaneohe pattern in the 3 months before the heat death case had broken. She had built the audit calendar herself in 2024. She had put the 2 brigs in the same quarter on purpose. She had also put the procurement fraud audit of the bottled detainee water on the same calendar week. The 2 audits were the same audit. The form was the visible part. The water was the case. She had come to Camp Halawa Annex on an unannounced inspection specifically to find an unnumbered form. The unnumbered form was on the binder on the processing desk. The unnumbered form had been written about her. The cell was not where the inspection began. The cell was the inspection. 3 count in, 3 count out. The watch was still turned inward. 12:02. The Brig's Sallyport interlock opened. A major's footsteps came down the corridor. 12:03. The processing desk. Donnelly had heard the footsteps first. He was back at the desk before the major reached it. His thumbs were hooked in his belt. The binder was closed in front of the Lance Corporal. The wallet sat on top of the binder. Major Cyrus Gallagher, USMC, Provost Marshal, 42, in Service Charlie's, came around the corner. He was calm. He had been at his desk for 40 minutes after Bell had walked the second message in. He had the schedule for the unannounced IG visit in his head. The 0930 identifier at the desk window had been open and missed for 2 hours and 33 minutes. He did not yet know who was in the cell. He knew the schedule. He had also signed every booking form Donnelly had stamped for 6 months. He had not read most of them. He had read enough of them to know the pattern was there if he wanted to see it. He had not wanted to see it. He had been a major for 2 years. He had been the provost marshal here for 14 months. He had a daughter at the base elementary school who was named for his late mother. He had thought about the 17 forms more than once, and had chosen, more than once, not to think about them harder. He understood, walking up to the processing desk, that he had been doing that for 14 months, and that the doing of it was about to come to a stop. He set the inside of his mouth and walked. Sergeant. Lance Corporal. Status. Subject caught at the south perimeter, sir, Donnelly said. Non-compliant. Refused to identify. Use of force matrix tier 2. Processed and held pending identification. Documentation? In the daily binder, sir. Gallagher looked at the binder. He looked at the wallet on top of it. He looked at the Lance Corporal, whose right hand was now flat on the wallet. He did not say anything. He waited. Donnelly reached across the desk. Reyes's hand had been flat on the wallet for 30 seconds. It stayed flat. Donnelly's hand closed on the binder edge, not the wallet, and pulled at it. The wallet shifted under her palm. Reyes did not move. Lance Corporal, step back. Negative, Sergeant. Lance Corporal. 3 count in, 3 count out. Sir, Reyes said, to Gallagher, not to Donnelly. The subject's credentials wallet fell on the access road during physical control at 0926. The sergeant did not look down. I recovered it. I have not opened it. I would like to hand it to you, sir. Not to the sergeant. Gallagher waited 2 seconds. He looked at Donnelly's hand on the binder edge. He looked at Reyes's hand on the wallet. He looked at the booking form, face up, on the formica, witness line blank. Hand it to me, Lance Corporal. Reyes lifted her hand. She slid the wallet across the formica. Gallagher took it. Donnelly's thumbs came out of his belt. On the monitor at the corner of the processing desk, the slit window of cell 1 was visible. The woman inside it was sitting on the bunk. Her watch was still turned inward. Her face had not changed in 17 minutes. It changed now. The corner of her mouth lifted 1/4 of 1 inch. The lift was so small that it might have been the camera. It was not the camera. It was the only motion her face had made since she had walked into the cell. It happened because she had heard, on the corridor monitor speaker, the Lance Corporal say the 3 sentences she had needed to hear since 0926. The wallet was recovered. It was unopened. It was being handed to the major. The corporal's exam study book in Reyes's pocket had not only studied the regulation, it had taught her how to talk to a senior officer about a junior NCO in the presence of the junior NCO. She looked down at her wrist. She looked up at the camera. The corner of her mouth stayed where it was for 2 seconds. Then her face went still again. The monitor showed 30 more seconds of nothing. In those 30 seconds, Donnelly stood at the desk and watched the back of the major's neck. He had stood at desks behind majors before. He had stood at desks behind a lieutenant colonel 4 times and behind a 1-star general once. He had never stood at a desk behind a major who was holding a piece of leather between his thumb and forefinger and not opening it. Yet, the not opening was the part that registered in his chest first. The major was not in a hurry. The major was being careful. The major was being careful with a wallet that had fallen on an access road that Donnelly had walked across at 0926 with his right hand on a civilian's bicep. The carefulness was the first part of what Donnelly understood. The second part was 12 seconds away. Gallagher held the wallet flat on his palm. He unsnapped the flap with his thumb. The leather creaked once. The credential card slid out between his thumb and forefinger. He turned it right side up. He did not look at Donnelly. He did not look at Reyes. He looked at the card. 1206. Major Gallagher read the credentials. Line 1, Kowalski, Line J. Line 2, Commander, U.S. Navy JAG Corps. Line 3, Office of the Naval Inspector General, Detainee Compliance. He did not say any of the words aloud. He set the card down on the formica. He looked up at the slit window monitor at the corner of the desk. He looked at Donnelly. He looked at Reyes. He looked back at the monitor. He picked the card up again. He read line 1 again. He read line 2 again. He read line 3 twice. Sergeant Donnelly. Sir, step back from the desk. Donnelly stepped back. 1 pace, then another. His face moved through 4 expressions in 4 seconds. Confusion. He had heard the rank, but had not understood the sentence yet. The word commander was a word he had heard in church pew contexts and academy graduation contexts and ship's bridge contexts, and not in the context of the woman behind the steel door in cell 1. Disbelief. He had understood the sentence, but had not connected it to the woman behind the steel door. He looked at the slit window monitor. The woman on the bunk had not moved. Recognition. He had connected it. The corners of his mouth pulled in. His eyes lost focus, and then found it again on the credential card in Gallagher's hand. Horror. He had understood the second thing, that the unnumbered form he had written at 10:48 that morning had been written about a commander in the office of the Naval Inspector General who had been on his perimeter to find that exact form. He had understood the third thing 1 second after the second. That she had also said the words, Article 93, on a duty room counter where 2 other Marines and a security camera had heard her, and that he had told her, in front of those Marines, and that camera, not to quote regulations at him. He stopped at horror. His face stayed at horror. He did not speak. Behind him in the corridor, the 3 Marines from shift change had come back down to processing without being told. They had seen Gallagher's face. They had stopped moving. Gallagher set the card down a second time. He took his keyring off his belt. He walked to cell 1. Reyes followed a step behind him. Donnelly stayed at the desk. The corridor was painted gloss gray. The clock above the door of cell 1 read 12:07. Gallagher slid the key into the lock. He turned it. The bolt drew back. He opened the door. He did not call attention. He did not call a formation. He did not raise his voice. He did not salute. Ma'am, we owe you an apology. The woman on the bunk stood up. She set her hands flat against the wall behind her, with the back of her palms for 1 count, the way an operator checks a wall surface before leaving cover. She walked to the door. She stepped through. Accepted, Major. 2 questions. Ma'am. Where's the Brig Commander? Office, 2nd floor, ma'am. Bring him down. Yes, ma'am. Behind Gallagher, Reyes lifted the credentials wallet off the formica and held it out. Kowalski took it. She clipped it to the lapel pocket of her blazer. Her watch face was still turned inward. Her sleeve had ridden up an inch over the cuff during the hauling on the access road. The thin red mark of Donnelly's thumb was still on the inside of her left bicep, just above the elbow. She did not show it. She did not look at the sergeant. She walked past him to the processing desk. She opened the daily binder to the unnumbered form that he had written about her. She did not read it. She set her right index finger on the blank witness signature line. She held it there. The room understood. The clock above the counter read 12:08. The fluorescent light over the desk hummed once and steadied. Somewhere out on the smoke pad, a Marine took a deep breath and let it out. She lifted her finger off the witness line. She closed the binder. Lance Corporal Reyes. Ma'am, the 17 forms. In a folder on my personal device, ma'am. Encrypted, Filed timestamps. Hand the device to the major. Yes, ma'am. Reyes pulled the phone from her thigh pocket and held it out. Gallagher took it. He set it on the desk next to the binder. He did not unlock it. Kowalski looked at him. Major? Ma'am? 40 minutes? Yes, ma'am. The major walked out of the processing area and up the corridor toward the stairwell to the second floor. The sergeant did not move. The slit window of cell 1 was empty now. 12:18. The reckoning began without theater. Kowalski stood at the processing desk and walked Major Gallagher, who had come back down with the Brig Commander Lieutenant Colonel Merrick Vance, through the 17 forms in the daily binder. Each form, each one was missing the same 3 items. The booking number had been entered late, not at time of booking. The use of force witness signature line was blank. The physical control reason block was undated. The pattern was identical for 6 months back. The handwriting changed across the 17 forms. 5 different Marines had originated them, including Donnelly 4 times. The signature in the originating NCO block changed. The signature line that should have been the witness countersignature was blank on everyone. Gallagher's signature was at the bottom of everyone as Provost Marshal Review. He had signed 17 blanks. Vance, 50-something, a lieutenant colonel who had run the Brig for 14 months, insisted that this was a clerical issue, that the duty NCOs had been retrained twice in the last quarter, that the binder was a record-keeping problem, not a culture problem. Kowalski opened the canvas tote. She set the sealed sample bottle of the Brig's morning detainee water on the Formica. She set the field notebook next to it, open to the page that had the date sticker barcode scan from the holding corridor cooler at 09:15. She set the third item next to the bottle, a printout of the Brig's procurement contract for the bottled detainee water. The procurement contract said the Brig was purchasing 144 cases per quarter. The Brig had not purchased any cases for the last 3 quarters. The pH of the water in the cooler was 6.1. Outside Marine Corps standard for detainee provision. The barcode on the bottle scanned to a contract line that had been paid, but not delivered. $18,000 per quarter for 3 quarters. $54,000. Paid. Not delivered. Substituted with tap water from the same cooler the duty Marines used for their own coffee. The contract vendor was a single-name LLC registered to a post office box 6 blocks from Camp Halawa Annex main gate. The commander went quiet. He did not sit down. He stood and looked at the bottle. Colonel Vance. Ma'am. Relief for cause. Ma'am. My recommendation will be in the hands of the Marine Corps Forces Pacific Judge Advocate by 1400. Approval by 1600. Ma'am. You will sit at your desk between now and the relief order. You will not access this binder, this cooler, or this processing room. You will not speak to Sergeant Donnelly or Lance Corporal Reyes. Ma'am. Vance turned around and walked up the stairs. The stair tread metal rang once under his left boot at the landing. He did not look back. Kowalski looked at Gallagher. Major. Ma'am. Administrative leave pending review. Effective 1500. Surrender your signature authority by 1445. Ma'am. He did not argue. He nodded once. He took a breath and let it out. He set his keyring on the desk next to Reyes's phone. The clock above the counter read 13:01. Kowalski drank half a paper cup of water from her own sealed reserve in the tote and set the cup down. She did not drink the Brig water. She walked to the doorway of the processing area. She turned. Donnelly was at the desk, where Gallagher had told him to step back. He had not moved in 53 minutes. His thumbs were not in his belt anymore. His hands were at his sides. Staff Sergeant Donnelly. Ma'am. She did not raise her voice. My recommendation is not court-martial. He did not move. Counseling. Written reprimand. Reassignment for 9 months to mentorship under Senior Chief Master-at-Arms Estela Ipanake at North Island Brig. Senior Chief Ipanake has been called. Senior Chief Ipanake has agreed. Ma'am, a court-martial of you would let the chain of command above you walk quietly. I will not permit that. Ma'am, she held his eyes. Staff Sergeant. Ma'am, 3 years instead of 6. That was on my recommendation. Your cousin did not tell you. I am telling you now. He did not speak. He breathed in for 3 counts. He breathed out for 3 counts. Ma'am, that was all he said. She nodded once. She turned to Reyes. Corporal Reyes. Lance Corporal, ma'am. Corporal Reyes. Effective 1600. The paperwork will reach you by 1605. If you finish the corporal's exam track and then the IG selection track in 3 years, there is a slot. Ma'am. And if you've been watching this story and you've seen the moment one person stayed quiet at the right time and changed everything, that's the moment. Hit subscribe right now, because Honor Tales tells one of these every day, and the next one is uploading tomorrow. Stay with us. 1640. Kowalski drove off Camp Halawa Annex in a rented gray sedan. Through the front gate, past the perimeter camera that had watched her at 0922, onto the surface road. The window was down. The afternoon sun was over her left shoulder. The thin red mark inside her left bicep had faded. 1710. She picked her son Owen up from school. Owen Kowalski, 15, sophomore. He climbed into the passenger seat. He set his backpack on the floor. He did not ask how her day was. He had stopped asking last spring. Hey, kid. Hey, Mom. Algebra. Quadratics. Need a hand? I got it. 1805. Home. Kitchen table. The folder open. The pen on the page. Owen at the other end of the table with his algebra book and a glass of milk and a half-eaten apple. She drafted the report. The recommendation to Marine Corps Forces Pacific Judge Advocate. The relief for cause memorandum for Lieutenant Colonel Vance. The administrative leave memorandum for Major Gallagher. The counseling and mentorship memorandum for Staff Sergeant Donnelly. The promotion memorandum for Corporal Marisol Reyes. The procurement fraud referral to the Naval Criminal Investigative Service for the $18,000 quarterly contract that had been paid for 3 quarters and not delivered. 2112. She set the pen down. The folder closed. Across the table, her son turned a page. Every soldier carries a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to Honor Tales for more.